Well, good evening. I pray that you are getting prepared for my next guest, for the leading men who's coming forward in our Proverbs Practical Living series. I pray you're being blessed by it. Please do a thumbs up or something so I can make sure they know that you are being blessed. And listen, maybe you ought to hit them up too and give them a word of encouragement and let them know how much you appreciate the message God has spoken to them. But let's jump into this because I figured we'd do it this way so I can give them all the time and let's talk real with them. So I want to talk about what I promised to come back with. It's talking about mastering our mouths. Lord, have mercy. If there's ever a time we need to work on mastering our mouths, in this lesson talking about how we can prepare to look at where are we going wrong. Okay, what am I doing in this situation that's causing me so many issues? Well, first of all, we need to understand that God is constantly speaking to us about the things that we say and the way we say it, and so many kids have been wounded by parents with their mouths. So many are hurting right now. We see the statistics all across the globe of people on the news, even now, with just the words, whether it's the N word or whether if it's the words just saying something that, you're not this or you're not that, but whatever it is, we need to know that sticks and stones, they say. This is what they say, sticks and stones, they may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Yeah, we used to say that all the time, especially when we get into some kind of dispute when we were in high school or elementary school. But it's really not true. It's a lie. Words do hurt. Most broken bones, if you think about it, takes a few months sometimes or sometimes weeks, depending on how bad the break is, and it hurts like the dickens because I had a broke foot before. So when you have something broken, it takes a while for that bone to get back in place. But guess what? When somebody has hurt you, many adults are still emotionally traumatized. I mean, even parents today are raising their kids with a lot of hurt, emotional hurt from words that parents said they weren't good enough or they were black sheep and they were spoken to or spoken less to. Let's put that down, spoken less to than others. So emotional pain, these words we don't give no thought about early in childhood. While a bone is trying to set, that word is still yet working in your heart, in your mind, in your thoughts, right? And so when we think about these ugly words, and needing to master our mouths, we need to also look at Proverbs 12 and 21. It tells us what the tongue of the wise is health. This is why this series is going on. The tongue of the wise is health. Praise God that the wise talk that we talk. They talk life. If we would actually think about what you're saying before you say it. So we need to talk healthy. We need to talk healing, right? And there shall no evil, is what it's telling us. There shall no evil happen to the just, but the wicked shall be filled with mischief. Why? Because the just know what is acceptable. They speak God's word according to what? The deliverance, the healing, for the hurting, for those people who are going through as God is trying to get you to a place, or going through something that God is trying to deliver you out of. And so Psalms 107 and 2 tells us, let the redeemed of the Lord say so. So when he has redeemed you from the hand of the enemy, we need to say so. But we don't want to say that. We don't want to tell that truth because we're hurting so bad, especially in leadership. Very few tell their real testimony. Proverbs 12 and 18 describes this awesome power of words when you think about it. It says, my harsh words can pierce like a sword, but I am wise. Yes, when I speak healing words, when I speak deliverance words, it says, but if I am wise, my words will bring healing. Too often, many of us, we don't bring healing because we're so busy trying to see how we can actually set somebody straight. And God is trying to get you to see that, no. You need to watch how you're talking, what you're saying, and most importantly, we need to also look at who we're saying it to, because some people we're talking to, we already know they've been wounded, and we still want to try to throw, hot coals on somebody who has still got the fire simmering. And so if you look at it, this verse is trying to show us two awesome things. Okay, Proverbs 12 and 18. It's trying to show us two awesome things, and I want to get through these three really quick as possible to talk about the uncontrolled mouth, okay, because that's what I said I want to come back and talk about these three ways that we need to look at. First of all, I want to talk about, we talked about briefly last night, the uncontrolled mouth. One of the things people are doing, especially those who say that they're prophetic and they want a lot of attention, it is lying, okay? If you look at Proverbs, God says a lot about people who lie. First of all, you have to notice that we are really, really in a realm right now that people want to say stuff and make themselves look real super spiritual because of what we're going through right now, but God is holding us accountable for what we're saying and how we're saying this thing. So this uncontrollable mouth with lying is, for example, each year, you think about it, there's a list of 10 of the richest people in the world, and there's 10 best-dressed people in the world. Now, of course, we all have the 10 Commandments of the Bible, and we all have these lists that we talked about last night with my guests in Proverbs 6 and 16. We talk about, the 7 things that is an abomination to God, but those 6 things, too. And if you think about it, you notice number 2 in that list is a lying tongue, according to 6 and 17. So it's very, very important to notice that in this list of the 6, Proverbs 6 and 19 is telling us a false witness that speaketh lies, meaning that you are telling them not the truth about what God has given you, a witness, whether it's prophetically or a witness even in your testimony, so you can try to look super spiritual. Now, I want to talk about, as we look at these 2 of the 7 that I just described here, the 2 of the 7 things that God hates most involve lying. But think about it. Why does God hate lying? Well, because lying and liars are more polar. They're opposite of God's nature. They're not who God is in the fruit. And so Jesus, if you think about it, who is God, who has come to earth in the flesh, in the blood like us, and he said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man coming to the Father but by me, according to John 14 and 6. So you think about it. An uncontrolled mouth, number 2, it is a gossiping mouth. Lord have mercy. When you think about gossipers, those people who always got something to say, those people always trying to get their word out about what somebody else and then want to call it, let's pray about it. Let's pray for them. Or I'm just saying so we know how to pray. The devil is a lie. In Proverbs, we need to understand that God is trying to show us God has much to say about gossipers, people who call themselves talking or saying let's pray. They're nothing but talebearers. They're backstabbers, really undercover. And we need to make sure that we be very careful about these. They're also called talebearers and whisperers. One thing I don't like about a whisperer, they let you know that they just telling you that because they really got a hating tongue and a lying tongue. They're trying to see if you're going to agree with them. And one thing that makes a gossip so dangerous and destructive is we all have, by nature, we love to hear what they got to say. And that's what you messed up at when you loan your ear to that thing. We got to make sure that we quit allowing our ear gate to go to things you know that they're hating, they're faking, and they are whispering, and they're giving you all these tales that they want you to agree with them. How does Proverbs 18 and 8 tell us that? Where it describes this attitude towards gossiping in this way. One thing I do know is that many people are looking at the talebearers who they think that's trying to say let's pray so we can make sure that they make it, But what it is, a talebearer, words are like wounds. They're right. They're like these delicious morsels that the Bible is talking about. They go down to the innermost parts of the body. And when it gets down in there, it's almost like when Revelation say you eat that thing and then now it's very, very bitter when it goes in your mouth and down your stomach. It turns your stomach. But what it is, that person knows already. So the word translated wounds here refers to tasty morsels, okay? So hearing gossip is like eating our favorite food. Many of us are just so desperate to see what happened, girl. Oh, man, he caught her. Oh, man, yeah. Oh, girl, they lost the car in the house, too. All the time you gloating about what you hear because you're so glad that they ain't driving that Benz no more and ain't got that nice home because you living in an apartment. And I know I'm talking to you, and you don't have no husband, and you ain't got no lady. One of the things God is trying to talk to us about, this innermost part of us that stimulates our desire for more to hear more to want to hate more to try to see if they fallen yet because you tired of them being talked about. You tired of them, they're hearing their name. I never forget one woman told me one time, I'm so sick of hearing your name, Sandy Murphy. What's so special about you? I thought to myself, Lord, have mercy. I guess that's why they don't know your name. They don't know your name because your fruit stinks. This is what I said to her when I had to calm it down. That's why we got to know when to speak, how to speak, and speak only what God says. So it'll be, go into the belly of that person, and they'll begin to get this thing to turn and churn, and so God can get them to see, really, this is what you got to say about my sheep? This is what you got to say about my daughter, my son? So why do we like to hear gossip? Well, because we have the mistaken idea that when other people look bad, we look better. My God, I know I'm talking to somebody. When they look bad, we look better. And it's just deception. It's deception. So who exactly is a talebearer or a gossiper? Well, someone who repeats the private affairs of others. I just described that. Some people that simply just like to justify gossip by saying, it's the truth, girl. Hey, man, I wouldn't lie to you. Bro, I'm just trying to hit you up. And so what? So when you spread hurtful information that is false, that's slanderous, gossip is repeating the private affairs of others. Gossip and talebearing, even when the information is true, you need to be quiet. You need to quit taking this stuff and traveling with it. Just one word goes across the globe. You don't know who's going to say it next. You don't know how they're going to change it up 100 times worse than what you said it or add stuff to it. And so one of the most dangerous things and damaging aspects of gossip is that it ruins relationships. It ruins marriages. And it certainly ruins children's hearts, because here we are saying stuff about this child, even in front of our relatives and our friends, about our child is too fat and she this and she that, or he's just so sorry, he's so lazy, just like his daddy. So if we we need to remember this truth that's found in Proverbs 17:9 that tells us, if I overlook transgression, I promote what? Love. If I repeat it, I will separate friends. We need to make sure that we don't allow that thing to come in our mouth to wound other people. We all know, as we think about, so many relationships are broken, so many hurting people today, because so much is going on even now in these houses with this COVID going on. Everybody is in there calling each other names and saying you ate up the last piece of bread, and and now the water ain't running right because the hot water heat ain't working, and now everybody's trying to take a cold shower. Everybody is mad because it's not no more grits left and no more milk. I've been there, coming from a family of 12. And so we need to realize that we all know that broken relationships can destroy friendships, especially because one want to go and say their side of the story, one want to tell their side of the thing, one want to try to peek and see whether or not if you can tell them, asking you, well, how is Dr. Murphy? Well, when last time you heard from so-and-so? I've been having this one here on my mind. Have you talked to her lately? Have you heard from him lately? That's because you're trying to see where you stand with it, because you already know that they've been talking about that person to you. You already know that they haven't been around lately. So apparently now y'all got some kind of brokenness too. Lord, I know I'm talking to somebody. So we all know that broken relationships, things that are going on, I call them breaches, where the enemy has put some kind of monkey wrench in there to try to make people feel like that they're not a part, or they're not loved, or that they're separated, or there's something that's not right or wrong with them. And so we need to think about, how can we help the person to protect them from people that are trying to hurt them? What can we do then, Dr. Murphy? Well, number 3 here it is. We need to look at, what have I done in regards to protecting my mouth? If it is a cursing word or a profaning word with my mouth, where am I? Well, really, if you think about it, many of us, we grew up in that culture. We knew how to lie when our mama told us to tell their friend they ain't there. And they asked the bill collector, just tell them, they got the wrong number or whatever. They got the right one because they asked for your mama's name. Okay? So in our culture, profanity, cussing, and I ain't never in my life seen so many cussing preachers, and guess what? I always say, don't let me put no skin on. That's why I slam drawers in here, to keep them cussing. But that thing that's in us, guess what? It's going to come up eventually if you keep on letting it just sit there. I always say, kill it before it gets grown. You already know what's working in us. You already know that demon of cussing trying to come out of you. You already know that profaning mouth is there. And so you look at Proverbs 4:24 to 4:29, it tells us, I am not to allow any corrupt talk to come out of my mouth. It should always be the oracles of God. It should always be the fruit of God. Lord, let me slow it down. When I think about how people can provoke you, sometimes I want to just cuss down when my kids get on my nerve. I want to cuss down when my grandkids get on my nerve. I want to go sit your so-and-so down before I slap you into a new city. What the thing is that we got to understand that whatever is driving us to speak something, especially if you're in leadership, but what we need to understand is that this profanity, this thing that's changing our fruit, we have allowed it to become too commonplace in our lives. We've allowed even people to cuss around us too much. And so you start cussing too. I told y'all a story. The girl used to pick me up all the time. We would go out and ride and stuff like that to chill. And she had a filthy mouth. Before I know it, she had me saying stuff, saying, yeah, S and S and M and F. And I caught myself, wait a minute. No, this here simulation got the G-O. I said, girl, you cuss too much. And so the Hebrew word that's translated perverse, this is really where we are, okay? It's called luzalama, lazut, okay? I can't hardly say it. Lazut. But anyway, look it up. Perverse. It means foul or deviating from what is considered right or light, okay? Now, according to a study conducted by Florida State University, communicator Barry spoke, I think his name is Sapolsky or something like that. He said that profanity during primetime television, it increased from 58% to between 1997 and 2004. So this indicates that profanity is becoming more acceptable, okay? So you think about where we are now. People can cuss from the pulpit and think nothing of it. You see it all the time. People can cuss right in front of their elders and everything else and think nothing of it. But even Christians today, we need to look at Proverbs 4:29, where it's trying to tell us, it's telling us that I am not to allow any corrupt talk. And it is true. Ephesians 4:29 tells us that I'm not allowed any corrupt talk to come out of my mouth. Those things that come out that are not of God, they're all perverse. And we need to understand that God is watching over us. Now, that's the third thing I want to talk about today. So tomorrow I'm going to come back and try to talk about how to master your mouth. The word translated, when I say corrupt, is translated saprosap. Okay, sapros. This means bad. This means rotten or foul. And many of us have got rotten mouths because our hearts, the abundance of our hearts, are really, really tainted and foul because of so much pain and disappointment and rejection and bitterness and, all these things. So if we look at it, it's used in this way to show that the fruit is not good. The food is not good. Okay, it's foul. Because so foul language should be as repulsive to us as a rotten egg. And a rotten egg stinks. And these dirty jokes, a whole bunch of these dudes get together and be talking, and we got now women talking about a whole bunch of body parts with men that think it's funny. And, we just go on and on. But we should never come out like this. It should never come out of our mouth. It should never come out of our hearts. It should never come out of our ways that we get so angry with our children either. These filthy things, neither filthiness or foolish talking, nor jesting, Ephesians 5:4 is telling us, nor which is not convenient. We need to make sure that after we become saved, we need to understand that God is watching your fruit. He's looking to see how are you going to stop this cussing and this wrong, perverse talk. So the uncontrolled mouth is a lying mouth. It is a gossiping mouth. It is a cursing mouth, and God is not pleased with it. So we're going to talk about on tomorrow how to master those things. I'm going to give you 4 ways to look at how to master it. But I want to leave this shit with you before I go. I got 2 little things that I want to say before I get off here, and I pray this lesson has blessed you, and I pray that you begin to take a revelation about what I was saying here concerning it. One of the things that I'm very, very concerned about is many times people don't pay attention when God is trying to show us and reveal something to us in regards to that. The hardest part we need to understand as a leader is that we have to have prophetic wisdom, okay? So that means when you have prophetic wisdom, that means those virtues, those things that we speak, those things that are positive, those things that we influence people with, that same influence can influence people to follow you and go as you are going, okay? So go the head, so go the body. So leaders who use these words that are fruitful, they become skillful, right? They become wise, and so they increase their influence by helping them to grow and create discipleship or kingdom building. But leaders need to understand that the power of our words can accomplish a lot of things. And so our first thing I want you to think about is what Maxwell said. He said, number 1, they proclaim justice and they are blessed. We're looking at Proverbs 10, verses 6 through 32 in this last comment I'm making. And then he said they speak hope for the future. What are you saying that's bringing fruit for your family, for your marriage? You instead of saying, I ain't going to be able to take this no more. I'm sick of this. I'm out of here. All I know is I hate them, and he ain't worth nothing. He's sorry. Are you going to keep saying that about your pastor, about the person that birthed you out even? So they speak hope. People that have fruitful words in their hearts and their minds, they become a fountain of life, not something they pour in, hot oil over their head and then throw a match. I know I'm talking to somebody because you're mad. The third thing he says, they speak forth wisdom and save others from ruin. What are you saying to be able to save a soul and pulling them out of the cuts of hell? What are you saying to your children who you know that may be in same sex or may be struggling with something that maybe you have already warned them about? You got to speak life. Wisdom saves from ruin because you're giving light in a dark place. And then number 4, he said, that they know when silence is more powerful than words. Why don't we learn how to be quiet? I'm going to talk about that mastering your mouth tomorrow. You got to learn how to be quiet. When you're quiet, God talks then. He even talks to you first to say, be quiet, daughter, I got this. I know that hurts you, but go over there and sit down. I'm going to show you something about this here. And so when we are silent, we become more powerful. I say it all the time. Why are you going to let the devil know what you're doing? Really? You know, and it's just sad. And this is what I practice all the time in prayer, in the face of God, saying, what's next, Daddy? Because I want to make sure that it's not me and it's you. So I'm not talking. I want you to go sit down while Daddy talk to you, and guess what? And me. And then number 5, he's talking about the second thing, the fifth thing is that words feed. What? They feed and they nourish many, many people. So what are you going to do? Are you going to feed them wisdom or are you going to feed them pain? There's my time, and you know I'm going to time it. So what are you going to do? And then number 6 is they express what is right. And when they express what's right, it nurtures righteousness. It nurtures that thing that seems to be hard, you know, that thing that seems to be too naked. And then now you're nurturing them. You're trying to get them to see that I love you right where you are. So it nurtures the righteousness in the hearts of those who you want to follow, who you want to see the light in your heart skillfully. That's wisdom, right? That's one way. I'm trying to show you 3 ways. I just did about how to recognize when you're not controlling your mouth. We're going to talk about 4 ways tomorrow about how to master it. I want to close out with this comment, and I pray that it'll bless you, and you just want you to say like that before the end of the night, before you go to bed and hear my guest tonight. Build up your weaknesses until they become your strong points. Say it like that. Come on and say that to me. I'm going to build up my weaknesses until they become my strong points. God bless you. I pray you continue to stay tuned with us in this walking practically with wisdom for living everyday life. Love you so much.